Well, hello, this is Doug at Wood Spun Round. It is great to have you in the shop with me today. It's a fine day and a good day to be turning. I've got a piece of cherry. This is just a small cherry log that I've stuck on the lathe here. Um, got a reason to turn this morning. You first saw me there with my roughing gouge since it is in spindle orientation. And here I'm just cleaning up the two ends, making them nice and straight. They were not cut exactly parallel. They rarely are. So just getting the ends real nice and straight. We're going to turn for lack of a better term, it's a tart shell former. Uh, you'll see more. You'll be able to tell more toward the end what we're talking about. Excuse me, nose is a little stuffy this morning. Um, but then we're going to go in. I'm going to make a series of sizing lines across this. We've taken the bark off on the headstock end there. There's a little bit of the underbark, but it's not going to. It'll disappear as we go along. This is going to get a good bit smaller yet. But this is just a sizing mark. I want to size it. Um, the two ends are going to be different sizes and tapered at that. And so I'm gonna take it down here to the largest of the four diameters that I want that I have measured. So um, what I'm doing here is just making some measurement marks. It's all going, in my particular case, this is going down to 2.5 inches end to end. So I've made 5 marks across there. Now I've got a skew, and we're just gonna peel those off, just taking my time. It's also a bit of practice on a larger diameter piece. Um, when I put the skew up against this piece, it looks to me, from my perspective, like I'm going to touch the entire skew at one time. So, but you're not. There's no way on a round surface like this, the skew can only touch in one little small area. Of course, the larger the piece, the larger that area is, but there's no way I'm going to touch the entire skew all at one time. And so this is practice for me. It's partly for my eye, partly for my uh, muscle memory with the skew. It's good to use a skew every day, just even for just a few minutes, just to keep your muscles and your eye kind of in practice and in line, so that when you do pick it up, when you need to use it, it's a little easier. So that's what I'm doing here, and it's really it's probably the best tool for the job right here. And so it's doing a great job for me, just peeling this down or planing it down, getting it all to the same diameter end to end. And all I have to do is go across it until those lines disappear. Once they disappear and I'm straight across there, I'm 2.5 inches all the way across. I don't think I show it, but I did take my calipers and go across here and check it. This wood is pretty dry. It's not down to 6% or anything like that, but it is dry. All right, more sizing marks. We're going to start sizing. You see one mark. Well, you see a pencil line on both ends, and those are how far from the end I want the diameter of that taper to start. And here I'm sizing the whole cylinder is down to the upper end of this taper, and what I'm doing there is I'm sizing the smaller end of my taper. I'm looking off to my right, what you see is left. Um, I've got a piece of paper there with my drawing and my measurements on it. Um, I've gone behind my little line here, and I'm just cutting down so that I know very easily, I know where the taper ends and where the handle will begin. There's going to be a taper on each end with a handle in the middle. Doing the same thing on the other end. I haven't done any of the sizing yet, but I am cutting down so I know where that handle starts. Again, have my calipers, and I'm going to take this down to the small size of the taper. I've sharpened that parting tool, and I'm not going straight in with it. So many times, and I did this until recently, just so many times with the parting tool, we tend to go straight in with it, very, very much like a scraper. Um, but remember, this thing is sharpened on two sides. It's really sharp on both directions. So you can start going straight in, but once you get through the surface, lower that handle so the tip is up a bit, and it becomes more of a slicer, more of a peeling cut like we would do with a skew. And it works so much better, and it will actually stay sharp longer if we can do that. So that's what I'm doing, and it works so much better for me. Okay, you saw me size the bottom end, and now I'm sizing the top end of this taper, and it's going to look a little funny here. Start with a skew. Um, for some reason, taking this corner off it wasn't hitting my eye just right. It should have been a very easy task. And I'd take a few passes here. But I'm going to switch tools here in just a second. But look at those shavings coming off. It's coming off very nicely. Right there is where it messed with my eye for some reason. Like I said, having a bit of skew practice every day is pretty important. And I've done much smaller things. I hadn't done anything this size for quite a while. My trees were this size, but I started them off with the roughing gouge, and so didn't get my eye going on this large size. So I've switched over here to my half-inch bowl gouge. If you've watched my videos before, you know the half-inch bowl gouge is my gouge of choice. It's my tool of choice. When in doubt, half-inch bowl gouge. That'll do it every time. I have changed, gotten another tool that I like a lot, and I've more practice will just make it a better tool for me. And that is a spindle gouge, but it's sharpened a little different from the norm. It has a parabolic curve on the front end, and do that with my Wolverine and Varigrind, just like I do my bowl gouges. However, once I get that done, get a nice curve there, come back and take off the back side. So instead of being a concave curve caused by the sharpening wheel, I have a convex curve, so it curves outward from back to front. And my goodness, once I get that completely changed over and get some practice with it, that's going to be a great tool. I already like what I'm seeing, and you'll see it pop out here in a bit. I've got the big end tapered down. I'm working on the small end getting tapered down, and right there, that's a bit of a oops. It's no big deal. We work with it anyway, but that end actually got smaller than the teeth on that steb center, and it's not too big a problem. I've still got the point in the center, so it's being held fairly securely. But you're going to see what the problem is here in just a second. Right there it is. Do you see it? You'll see it again. There it is. That stopping is because there's nothing in that steb center coming from the drive spindle to engage that wood. And so if it gets, if I get just a little over aggressive, or there's a little hard spot in the wood stops spinning, and you can't turn if the wood's not spinning. But I do have a solution. First off, I try just simply taking much lighter cuts, knowing that's going to slow me down. I'm not in a hurry to do this, but it's a little aggravating. I was taking some pretty light cuts, so I've turned it off. You see me loosening the tailstock. What do you think I'm going to do? Yep, we're going to turn it around. That other end is much larger. Um, I should have made I should have taken this over to my big disc sander and sanded off that end. It's got just a little bit of a nub from the live center, but it's going to work okay. Still using that 1/2 inch bowl gouge. And as you can see, I'm still having to take a fairly light cut. Um, I'm getting a nice slicing cut across this cherry, but um, I'm about to think to myself, man, I could be practicing with this new tool. So here in just a moment, we're going to get out this new tool and start working with it. I believe this is it right here. Yep, that's it. You can kind of see I've changed that curve on the bottom side of that spindle gouge. It's working really well. It'll work even better as I continue on. It's going to get sharper. I'm going to make the ground portion of this gouge quite a bit longer before we're through with it. But it's working really nice. It's sharp. It's got a repeatable curve on it now. Before I was grinding it by hand, and sometimes it'd be nice and round across there like it's supposed to be. Sometimes it would be lumpy and bumpy, and that's never any good when it's lumpy and bumpy. When we sharpen it, it needs to be a nice smooth curve all the way around, so that as we change directions, we can do that without interruption in our cut. I said a while ago I need more practice with it. I'm on my bevel here. The bevel is just T90. It's just a fraction of the edge, and it's. But I'm rubbing too much bevel, and so I'm cutting slowly. When I get up on the edge a bit, as long as my bevel's got a little contact there, it cuts so nicely. This is one of the hardest pieces of cherry that I've turned in a long time. And it's like I said, it's dry. It's not 100% dry. It's not been kiln dried. It is a log, but it's dry, and it's doing really well. So I say all that to say that you'll probably be seeing a bit more of this tool. It's doing a great job, and I've got the two ends formed here. You see that very clearly. I'm just working on a handle, getting something that's pleasing to my eye. You'll probably see me grab hold of it or put my hand around it. Not actually grab it, but I'll just put my hand around it a time or two just to see if it's comfortable in my hand. If it's not comfortable in my hand, it's not going to be comfortable in a lady's hand at all. And so I'm looking for something that's comfortable and just a touch smaller than I would personally like it. It doesn't need to be a lot smaller. I don't have the biggest hands in the world, and so most ladies, if I find it fairly comfortable, but just a hair small, most ladies find it extremely comfortable. At least my wife does. My wife is quite a bit smaller than I am, so it works out very, very well. Just a nice smooth cut here, trying to make a nice cove that I want to leave a bit of a high spot in the middle. There's one of my times taking hold of that handle. Like I said, I'm not grabbing it. I'm just kind of wrapping my hand around it. I know it's smooth. I'm getting a nice smooth cut, so there's no issue there. Trying to get that upper curve right. It's not catching my eye just right. And then here at the bottom, I really don't have a concave curve. I've got a more of a convex line there that I really don't want. But we're going to get that out. Didn't take much. See, right there it is. If you're interested in seeing more about this sharpening of this spindle gouge, check out Mark Soleil. Uh, any video with him, he talks about this tremendously. He doesn't put out videos himself, but Mark Soleil, Sillay. If you search him on YouTube, you'll find some club demonstrations where he is teaching this gouge, how to sharpen it, also how to use it. You can also go to worldwidewoodturners.org, O-R-G, and their meetings, their weekly meetings, they pull out those demonstrations. And the week of December 1st, I think it was the Wednesday. Mark did the demonstration for that club, and he talked all about it and gave some great insight on how to sharpen it, how to use it. It's about an hour and a half long video, but it's been broken up into smaller sections, and you can find those even on YouTube. But I tell you, worldwidewoodturners.org, to say that you're welcome to come any Wednesday night. There is no charge. It is free. So you can come and join us and jump right into the fray and get involved as much as you want. If you want to talk all the time, you can come talk all the time. I'm just showing you there that I've sanded this whole thing from 60 grit all the way up to 320. I really didn't need the 60 grit, but I just thought I'd go back, get a nice uniform surface all the way across here and come all the way up. I think 100 grit would have been fine, but I went to 60. Not sure why I went to 60, but I did. I sanded the whole thing. I'm going to part the very end of this small end off. I'm using my kitchen knife thin parting tool. This works tremendously well. You don't lose a lot of material when you use it. So I have gone all the way through there, but I've got to sand off a little nub is all. Here I'm just sanding off the big nub that was left earlier that I said I should have taken over to the disc sander. But here I'm doing it on my small end finish sander that I've rigged up. Got the big end. Now I'm just gonna roll over that bottom end just to make sure I'm getting the nub off the bit. We're almost done. You may be asking why two ends. Two ends because my wife has two different size muffin tins, a normal size and a little mini size. And so I wanted her to have an end for both sides. She'll be my guinea pig. I think most ladies have the two sizes. The little mini one is a lot of fun to make little tarts and things, even little miniature pies. Big one, of course, you do muffins in it. But to do little mini quiches or a little bit larger tarts, there you see it's in the muffin pan, and it gives you an idea. Instead of rolling that dough out, you put it in there as a ball and just smash it with this, and it forms up the sides and across the bottom. Well, I hope you've enjoyed it. I've just finished those with a little bit of walnut oil. Hope you've enjoyed the video. Please hit the like and subscribe buttons. Also, share it out with your friends, especially you bakers. Really appreciate it. Well, this is Doug at Wood Spun Round. Until we meet again, spin 'em round.